Hello and welcome to In Stitches. I'd like to start by saying a very big thank you to two new patrons, Susan Gator and Jeff Barker. Thank you and welcome aboard. You both get early access to videos, but Susan, you get exclusive video content. So again, thank you very much for your support. Today on the bench I've got a machine that I've pulled out of a stash of machines, if you like. It's a Singer machine in a nice case here, nice sort of blue case with the white binding along the side there, nice solid wooden base. This one came out of the stash and I think I'll probably end up donating this one to an op shop. This machine came to me in July this year from a customer, and she just wanted to donate the machine to me, and I'm going to assess the machine and donate it to a charity shop, a local charity shop here in the area, or thrift shop I think they're otherwise known as overseas. So I thought I'd just go through the machine and show you the process, what I do to check a machine out. It's certainly not going to be a full restoration, it's not going to be a full service as such. I'll go through and do basic checks, and we'll just get the machine up and running and make sure it's stitching fine and it's going to be reliable for the new owner. Now the foot controller, I would be tempted to check the capacitor. Would be the very first thing I would do. In fact, we can do that, but just bear in mind that you're dealing with an electrical component here, and you definitely want to have the machine unplugged when you do this here. If you're not confident, I would just leave it up to your local sewing machine mechanic, or an electrician could check this out. These have a hidden screw in them. If you're not aware, if you push on the rubber base here, you can see a little indentation there, and that little indentation there is where the hidden screw is, and it screws through. You probably just see it there, that screw there. I mean, you could, if you didn't want to damage this here, the rubber pad here, I guess what you could do is you could get a heat gun or a hairdryer or something like that and actually peel back this rubber here. In fact, we can probably even do that now, even without heating it up. You see it's leaving behind a little bit of sticky residue there. In fact, there's the screw there. And all you do is you just loosen that off, unscrew that screw there. I won't labour the point about making sure you don't have your machine plugged in. Live components in here, and there's the capacitor there. That's actually one that I think is probably more reliable than the reefer type that I see from time to time. The reefer type, you will recognise them. See if I've got one here. I don't have a reefer cap here to show you offhand. Actually, I've got a small one. The one inside the foot controllers will be bigger than this, but that's kind of the one that you're looking for. It's a reefer branded capacitor. They are notorious for exploding. That one's starting to crack up there now. And so if it's got one similar to that, more than likely the one that's in this foot controller will be a 0.1 microfarad. You can see that one's actually a 0.01 microfarad. But the one in this controller normally will be a 0.1 microfarad. Yeah, so if it's got a reefer type capacitor, I'd definitely be removing it and replacing it if you can. Just make sure that it's the correct voltage and the correct capacitance for the replacement. The capacitors, when they blow, They generally will emit smoke and a horrible smell and maybe make a bang, give you a fright. Potentially they could be a fire hazard. That's why it's recommended that you don't leave your machine plugged in and turned on at the wall. So if your machine's, whenever your machine's unattended, make sure you turn the power off to the machine at the wall. So yeah, safest thing to do is actually unplug it from the wall. One of the symptoms if the capacitor's blowing is that sometimes they can short out, and that will cause the machine just to run by itself. It's quite a common issue. So you'll find that if it's shorted and you plug your machine into the wall, turn the power on, the machine will just run by itself. You can't, no matter what you do with the foot controller, nothing will stop it. The only way to stop it is to pull the power out of the wall. So that's an indication of a shorted capacitor. Yep, that looks fine. I'm not gonna change that. Yeah, just a note with this here is if you can't peel this back for whatever reason, you can just stab your screwdriver through the rubber there. You just stab it through and get the screwdriver onto the screw there. But this is a nice tidy way of doing it. And then you could, replace the glue there. Probably some contact glue would be a good option. The other thing I'd do with a machine that's, sort of not known to you, or it's been sitting for a long time, is I'd check, before you plug it in, is just check the power cable, make sure there's no nicks or cuts in the insulation, in the outer insulation there. And just, a general inspection really is a safe thing to do, to make sure there's no bare wires or anything showing. The other thing that you should really do is a polarity test and, like a leakage test, things like that. That's the sort of thing that, maybe your local electrician could help you with, or sewing machine mechanic. But generally, an inspection of the internal wiring here, you can get a bit of an idea as to the state of the wiring just by looking at that there. You can't take it as gospel, but it's not the type of wiring that's breaking down and bits flaking off it. So the other thing to check before you go too far with an unknown machine is to check the motor brushes. Some machines it is quite difficult to do, but something like this I'm hoping won't be too hard. I'm just loosening the belt tension there so that I can push the motor up and down there. You can see that the belt's nice and loose, and we can flip that off. Might as well inspect the belt while we're here. This actually looks like it's in really good condition. I wouldn't be surprised if this machine's not had a lot of use. That looks like an original belt. It could have been changed at some stage. Who knows? But generally the machine looks in pretty good condition. So let's take the motor off. So we'll just completely unscrew this here and see whether we can get into check the motor brushes on this one. Some of the modern motors are very difficult to check the motor brushes in. They're almost like a sealed unit in a way. I mean, you can get into them, but it's difficult. So that's our mounting plate there. And does that come off? There is a screw in the back there. Maybe that's all I needed to do. I may have got away with just unscrewing this screw here, in which case you probably don't need to take the motor off. You might be able to slide this plastic cover off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's nice and serviceable. There's another capacitor here Pretty sure that's a capacitor, that one there. Potentially that could blow at some stage, but I would say that one's probably okay to leave at this point. And here's our motor brushes up here. And we should be able to just... You've got to be careful with this, because there's these little tabs that come over the to hold the motor brush in, and if you go, you know, pulling them back and forward too much, that tab will just snap off, and it's a right pain to fix. But just carefully bend that back, and the motor brush is not attached, but I can see down there, you can actually see the top of the motor brush there, and I can see there's plenty of life left in that brush. You can just judge it by how much length is in it, really. You know, you can fairly safely assume that if that one's fine, that the other one, the opposing one that's on the other side here, is also fine. But you're kind of making an assumption there when you do that. And but I've never really seen a motor wear brushes unevenly. They generally wear at the same rate. I guess unless someone's messed around with it and put different strength springs or something, and you know, there's a possibility that they could wear at different rates. But that's that one there, and there'll be another one, yeah, just here, just in here, that could be checked as well. But no, that's looking all good. I think you probably still have to take the motor off. I'm not sure whether you'd get away with sliding that on and off with it mounted. You may do. Model is officially 247C, made in Brazil. Okay, so yeah, I don't think you have to remove this motor mount either. Okay, let's place the belt back on there. Okay, and we'll set the belt tension. This is a little bit difficult to convey on video, but basically you want it so that it's not too loose that it slips, but not too tight that it strains the motor. That's probably too loose. I'll just tighten that a little bit. That's pretty good there, I think. Yeah. If you get it too tight, it'll end up straining the motor bearings, and it'll also potentially strain the bearing on the main shaft there, although probably more likely to cause issues with the motor bearings before it causes issues with the main bearing. But yeah, it's the other thing you'll notice that the machine might be really slow if it's too tight. So now we can safely plug it in and give it a run. Yep. Bit of a strange noise. Yeah, bit of a strange noise there. I'll just disengage the stop motion there. It's not the motor, it's definitely something to do with the mechanicals. Okay, we'll take the top off and have a look in the top there. Just the 2 screws there, and the lid should just lift straight off. I can see an issue, not sure if you can see it on camera there, but you should be able to see these cracks here. Yeah, look at these cracks. That's the cam stack drive gear. One crack there, another one here, another one there, another one there. So 4 decent cracks in there. It might stay intact for a while. Who knows? I mean, it could fail next week. So what would happen, I think, is one of these sections between the cracks here, that whole section there is probably just going to fall out. That section there will probably fall out. I mean, yeah, it's not moving as such. So what will happen is this gear will fail and it'll stop driving the cam stack here. And so, you know, you'd lose zigzag, which I don't think, you know, would be a huge deal if all you wanted was a straight sewing machine. I think you could just remove this whole cam stack here and use the machine as a straight sewer. I don't think it's going to affect you know, the actual sewing side of the machine, if you know what I mean. Just have a look at what's going on down here as well. Remove the throat plate and the press foot and the bobbin. I'll get you in a little bit closer here to the bobbin case there. Now, to remove the bobbin case, to get a bit of light on there, you basically flip this piece here up and to the right like that, and you can then remove the bobbin case like that. It looks pretty clean in here, although it does need a bit of a clean. You can see there's quite a bit of lint in there as well. So normally I would give that a blowout with a compressor, with compressed air. But if you don't have compressed air, the next best option is just a brush out like that. When you blow with compressed air or use a brush like this, you'll find that some of the lint and whatnot will go down into the base of the machine, but that's easy to sort out. You basically just tip your machine back and get in underneath and give that a good wipe out, clean it under there as well. So yep, I won't go cleaning this so that you could eat your dinner off it. I've been taken to task a couple of times, people saying that I'm not cleaning the machines enough. The reason for that is I'm really just showing what you need to do to clean the machine, you know, just by brushing here, or I don't normally show blowing out on the compressor because the compressor's not in my room here. But you know, when I'm creating a video like this, I'll give the machine a bit of a clean like this. I won't go too crazy. There might be a little bit of lint in that left behind, but generally, if it's a customer's machine and I'm servicing the machine, I happen to be showing you on YouTube, while I'm recording, I'll do a cursory clean like this just to show you how to clean your machine. And then when I've finished recording, I actually go and blow the machine out properly with the compressor. So I don't always, you know, if it's a customer's machine, I don't always just give it back to them not fully cleaned. I just really show you quickly what to do, just for the sake of brevity really. But yep, that's looking okay. What we should do is get a needle in there. Takes just a standard universal. So there's a little bit of lint there that I missed because I wasn't turning the machine, but air compressor will get that. It'll do a good job. So I'll do that later off camera. So the machines that I do for the charity shops, I don't fully service them as such. I get them to the point where they're up and running, and then the new owner, if they choose to, can bring the machine in for a full service if they want to. Single needle, oh, that timing's out. Timing's miles out. That needle's going to, yeah, so the hook's coming in as the needle's going down. There's the hook coming in there now. The hook should come in when the needle's coming up. I'm turning it back and forward there, so it looks like it's coming up. But if I keep turning, it's going to bend the needle. See that? That's the hook. The base, this part here, is bending the needle and would probably snap it. So that timing needs sorting. There seems to be, I'm not sure there's supposed to be room in here, you know? There seems to be a gap in here. I'm not 100% sure where, when the timing did slip, where it slipped. And that's the other thing you can check. Something's... actually, it's loose. Look, this is actually loose. Yeah, someone's gone a bit overboard with oil here too. Just be careful when you're oiling these machines, because there is a rubber belt here. Not to contaminate the belt with oil. It is a toothed belt, so it generally won't slip. There's a screw there, and that screws down onto a flat on the shaft. And I can feel that flat. Yeah, because I can't turn it any further than that. So that screw is pretty close to being right on the flat there. So let's just tighten that up. Also, I'm making sure that there's no play in this direction here as well. So push that up. It's in the flat there. Tighten this. Okay, that's got it there. Okay, so that is where the timing slipped. Right there. Belt could do with a little tighten. So might as well do that now before we go setting the timing, because that will slightly affect the timing. That's eccentric there, so just bring that up to, you know, not too tight, not too loose. Difficult to convey on video. It's not field of vision. Tighten that. Okay, that's pretty good there. The other thing I should mention too when you're doing timing is make sure that your needle bar, or you know, your left and center and right, make sure that needle's in the center, and also make sure that you're not set to zigzag. So you want it to be on straight stitch with the needle in its normal straight stitching position. I think for the timing side of things, we just need to loosen these screws here, and that'll allow us to move the hook on the shaft, and then we can get the timing done. Now that should allow us to, yeah, so now the hook is freely turning in here. You just want to make sure that you know, this drive pulley here doesn't drop off the hook, or also make sure the hook doesn't rise up like that, and you end up with play up and down on this hook shaft here. You don't want any play there. you don't want it to be too tight either. So just gently bring that back up once, just make sure there's no play in there, you know, once you tighten these screws. So effectively what I'll do here is I'll bring the hook to the point where it's just coming in behind the needle, roughly, at this stage. So the hook point is just where the needle will come down there, and I'll stop the hook from turning. I'll hold it in that position. So I'm holding the hook with my finger there, and I'm going to bring down the needle bar to the bottom dead center, and I can see that the needle bar is actually probably too low on this machine. You see it's coming down below the bottom of the bush there. That top mark is your needle bar height for bottom dead center. You can't always rely on it 100%, because if someone's moved to this bushing in here, that can put the needle bar height out. So what we'll do first of all is we'll set the needle bar height so that when the needle is at bottom dead center, or the needle bar is at bottom dead center, the top mark is just showing. So just make sure this is at bottom dead center, and then I'm just going to move the needle bar by loosening this needle bar clamp screw and bringing the needle bar up so that the top mark is just protruding, is just visible below the bottom of that bushing there. Now you can see that top mark is just coming down below the, level with the bottom of that bushing, the lower needle bar bushing there, and turn the machine so that in operating direction so that it comes up. That's your needle bar rise. So the lower mark comes to the bottom of the lower bushing there. So at that point you bring the hook around. You can see the hook just coming through there. That's the hook point just there. Bring your hook point so that the point of the hook is in line with the center line of the needle coming in behind it there. So at that point that's the hook timing, but we have to tighten the screws at that point there, making sure that the needle bar doesn't move and nothing moves. And just making sure that the hook doesn't move. I'm pushing down on the hook to make sure there's no end play there. I'm pushing up on this, so you see that there, just moved up a little bit. And then just really carefully need to just nip these screws up without anything moving. Okay, get that one tight. I'm overexposing this a little bit so you can see the darker areas there. And that's the second screw there. Just give that one a tighten, and that is the hook timing done. Okay, and we can see there that the hook is coming around, needle bar's rising, hook's coming through there now. So it's at the correct amount of needle bar rise there. So now this machine should sew, and I'm actually wondering if that funny clonking noise is still with us. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that clonking noise is part of the problem caused by this cam stack gear cracking there. It's not every revolution of the hand wheel. I think the machine's probably still usable, albeit a little bit noisy. I think it's going to sew. It looks pretty clean in here. There's not a lot of lint. Again, you get your brush and just have a a brush out. As long as the needle bar's clean and the presser bar is clean, get rid of any lint down in here. Just get your brush and give it a good brush out. Get as much of the lint out as you can. You don't need to go too crazy. As I say, you don't need to, it's not like you're going to be eating off the machine. While we're in here, might as well go ahead and lubricate the needle bar. So that's the bottom bearing there. Whoops, just about broke the needle there. I'm turning the machine backwards. It's fine to turn your machine backwards when it's not threaded. No problem there. Actually, while you're doing this, it's probably a good idea to turn your machine off. Top bearing, just a bit of oil on the top bearing there. Also, you want to get a little bit on this linkage here, that one there. The lower presser bar bearing there, that one. Also this one here. I've done plenty of videos on servicing machines. Yeah, so you can take a look at my other videos if you want more detailed videos on servicing. I'm just oiling the linkages here. That's pretty good. So I'll just go ahead and lubricate the top end here. Does that make any difference? No. Okay, I think that's everything there. Sometimes when I'm doing this from behind a camera, I can sometimes miss the odd thing, but yeah, so if it's a customer's machine, I go and do a full lubrication off camera. There's not really a lot to lubricate under here, just the ends of the feed bars there, these cranks that drive the feed bars. That little roller in there for the feeder. There's a little roller just there. There's a little bit of lint that I'll get later on with the air compressor. That's good there, or lubricated there. So that's lubricated, ready to go. Pretty sure it'll sew. I damaged the needle just before I caught it with the hook, so I'll replace that needle. I've checked the needle bar height, it looks fine as it is, so we'll leave it there. And we'll just pop the covers back on and see if the machine will actually sew. Pretty sure it will. I can't see any reason why it wouldn't. Pretty easy to service, really. I mean, effectively it's like 3 screws. Just for getting the top cover off and the faceplate. Extremely serviceable. Very heavy. Certainly not a lightweight machine, that's for sure. Okay, bobbin case goes back in. That just needs positioning in there like that. Basically the slot there, that's the hook race. The race there goes into that slot. Just like that. Push this across to the left so it pops down. Bit of oil there, that's really important. Just like that. Bobbin in there. Give that plate. It's a good idea to give your plate a good clean. Underneath there, just give it a good wipe. Make sure it's clean. Pop that on, just goes under the left side there, under that, and it pops on like that. Nice and easy. Press a foot. Thread it up here. Nice and easy to thread. Draw up the bobbin thread. Just turn it over by hand again, just to make sure it's not jamming or anything silly. Yeah. Yeah, it's not too bad. Zigzag. I mean, these are not the quietest machine, so I would say pretty good, you know, pretty smooth and pretty quiet for this machine. When you start getting up in speed, it does get a bit noisier, that's for sure. Yeah, that tension's not quite right. I'll just crank that tension up a bit. Yeah, you can hear the clonking now. When you get a bit of speed up, you hear the clonking. That's definitely an issue. Tension's still not quite right. Just crank that up a bit. Yeah, quite a clonk there now. Yeah, anyway, it's sewing, you know, I've oiled it, cleaned it reasonably, so, you know, I think for someone who's looking for a general sort of straight sewing machine, it'll do zigzag, I think, for a little while. Who knows how long that camstack gear is going to last, but it could last years. It might fail next week, who knows, but it's not a huge deal. If it does fail, it can still be used as a straight stitch machine, and a good solid straight stitch machine. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, so I'll take this machine down to one of the local charity shops and they can sell it on and get a bit of money for their charity, and that all helps them out. So yeah, I hope you found that helpful and hopefully interesting. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you as always to my patrons for your support, and we'll see you in the next one.